Hello guys, welcome back to my wine diary. Today's the day. Today is officially the last day of 2020, and honestly, I am ready for a new year. I don't know about you, but it's been a challenging one. So 2021, please be good to us. So today, for today's video, we will be talking about sparkling wines that you can have at your New Year's table or New Year's Eve table. And whether you want to save some money and buy some Prosecco, or you want to splurge and get some champagne, I've got you guys covered. Now, you all know that sparkling wines and champagne are always associated with some sort of celebration. And of course, New Year's Eve and the clock striking 12 o'clock or midnight is of course one of them. So for all of our happiest moments, for big occasions, we always reach for a bottle of bubbly. Now, what bubbly do we actually choose? And I decided to give you some variety. I'll show you 3 different kinds that I have here with me. We will talk about countries where they come from, what makes them differ, what makes them a little bit similar. We'll talk about the price tags of them, method that is used to make these sparkling wines as well, and anything in between really. So stay tuned and let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, the 3 options that I have here for you, in my opinion, should satisfy your taste for bubbly for New Year's Eve. And the choices here are Prosecco, Cava, and the actual champagne. So first and foremost, I hope that you know, and if you don't, here you go, thank me later, that you can't really call any sparkling wines champagne unless they're made in the Champagne region of France. So technically there's some legality behind it. So winemakers are not allowed to put the name champagne on the label if it doesn't come from the Champagne region. I filmed a great video all about champagne a couple months ago, so if you're interested in learning certain facts and just peculiarities really about champagne, go ahead and check it out. It will be linked for you right in this corner. Now, I believe that it's all about your own personal preference, and all 3 of these sparkling wines are really delicious, and we will go into tasting notes of each and one of them a little bit later, but just know that all 3 are on the drier side. So that's good. When it comes to ABV content, or alcohol by volume, our champagnes and sparkling wines usually vary anywhere from 11.5, 11 to 12%, so that range right there. So they're a little bit on the lower ABV content spectrum. My personal favorite, and I've mentioned this multiple times in my videos, is Cava. For many reasons, price tag being one, taste being second, or actually flip those, taste being first, price tag being second, and I really, really enjoy this. I don't drink too much of sparkling wines, but when I do, Cava is always the one that I reach for. Putting Cava aside for just a second here, I want us to take a look at these 2 contenders. And these 2 are probably the most renowned and known sparkling wines in the world. So it's our original champagne from Champagne region of France, and it's Prosecco. So I will put a picture on the screen for you guys right now, and let's kind of go over that picture and see what's happening here and what is really different about champagne versus Prosecco. Well, first of all, our champagne, of course, is much older. So as you can see on the picture, 1693 was the year when Dom Perignon for the first time produced their sparkling version of champagne, and our Prosecco comes almost 200 years later than that. So 1868 is when first Prosecco was made. But the other interesting difference is the atmospheres of pressure are different in them as well, and that has to do with the method of how that wine is made. But you can see how it's 6 to 7 atmospheres of pressure in champagne, and it's 2 to 4 in our Prosecco. And that also translates into the way bubbles are originated in your bottle and then in the glass once you pour it in a glass. So lastly, here on this picture, just take a look and see if you notice where the bubbles come from. Your bubbles in champagne are all centered in a very thin line, and they all come from the bottom, whereas our bubbles in a Prosecco glass are kind of like all over the place, if you will. On this note here, I'm going to slide my beloved Cava back into the picture For one reason, and one reason only, and that is because to me, they are very similar with champagne. So when it comes to your method, for instance, both champagne and our Cava as well are made with traditional method, unlike Prosecco. So when it comes to bubbles, for instance, your bubbles will be very, very fine with champagne, and they will be fine still. Pretty fine with Cava, whereas with our Prosecco, those bubbles will be pretty coarse and all over the place. Now let's talk about the countries. I've mentioned little things here and there about the origin of these three, but as I said, our champagne, of course, comes from France, so it's the Champagne region of France, world-renowned. You guys all have heard of it, nothing else to say here. Now, Prosecco comes from Italy, so it's an Italian sparkling wine coming from Veneto area of Italy, right where Venice is, so that coastal, beautiful area, great for producing grapes to make Prosecco. Now, Cava comes from Spain. It's a Spanish wine from Catalonia, and favorite one, still my favorite one. So moving along with noticing some core differences or some similarities about the three types of sparkling wines in front of me here, I have to mention the price tag, and this is something that you must know about before you look for a specific type. So champagne, of course, will have the biggest price tag. It's the most expensive one of them all. It has to do with where the wine is from and the method that's used to produce it. So expect your champagne to cost a lot. And not only that, it is actually not that easy to find in every store either, because stores nowadays try to serve public and the appetite of that public. They know that majority of the times a regular person will not be spending $60 or $70 on a bottle of bubbly, so they just opt for better options. So they have some sparkling wines from California nowadays, just completely, shelves are full with them. Trust me, there's plenty of choices there. And not to say that they're bad, try them out, some of them are really good, but your stores will go for Prosecco or Cava, which are in the same price tag range technically versus champagne. So a lot of times it can be hard to find. So for me, without going to a specialized wine store, this is all I found in my local store, and it's pretty big. It's a chain store, which is pretty huge. And this is all I found. So they only had this little bottle of champagne that cost me $12. Now, mind you, it is half the size of the other two, and just to give you a perspective, each of these two bottles, both Prosecco and Cava, are actually in the same $12 to $15 range, so half or double the price when you think of this, so expect for your champagne to be more expensive. Now, the picture that is on the screen right now is just a little educational slash notice the difference, so to say, type of picture. So let's go over a few things here. First thing that I would like for you to notice are our taste buds, of course, so primary flavors that hit your mouth. And you can see how here our Cava and champagne actually have some similarities too. So they have citrus flavors, they have pear flavor, they have some flavors of maybe tart apple to them. Whereas our Prosecco will be a bit on a sweeter side, so you can see how, you know, it's a sweeter apple, it's maybe a sweeter pear, honeysuckle, maybe some creaminess to it, so something like that. So keep that in mind. Your taste will be different, but Cava and champagne are slightly on the similar side here, so keep that in mind. Cava is a great option to go for when you don't have the budget for champagne in your pocket. Now, the other cool thing that I want to point out here is that Prosecco, although it's sweeter on the taste and the aromas, is actually the least calorie containing guy. So it's got the least amount of calories out of these three, and then Cava comes second, and our champagne comes a little bit higher, not by much though. So that's a pretty cool thing to notice as well. Now, last but not least here, let's take a look at food pairings, so you can see how champagne is awesomely flavored with your seafood and fried food. Surprisingly, such a refined, gorgeous drink actually goes amazingly with French fries, some fried food, because of all the acidity in champagne. we really can cut through the fattiness and the heaviness of the fried food. So that's pretty cool. Now, Prosecco will go really, really well with all sorts of meats, heavier dishes like maybe mashed potatoes or anything like that, any starches that you have. So again, pretty acidic, it will cut through them fats pretty well. And then my Cava that I like so much will go absolutely amazingly with fruits. It will go really, really good with all sorts of cheeses. So you can see how technically all three of these drinks are pretty diverse when it comes to pairing with food and with their flavors and aromas. So honestly, all three are great options. Now, what do you choose for your New Year's Eve table is completely up to you. See what your budget is like. If you have some money to splurge on champagne, go for it. You cannot go wrong with champagne. I mean, honestly, I don't think I've ever tried bad champagne so far, at least, and hopefully I never will. With Prosecco and Cava, people really split. Half of my friends swear by Prosecco. That's all they drink when they want some bubbly. Some people like Cava, like I do. So totally up to you. Please try them all and tell me which one you like the best. I can't let you all go without talking at least a little bit about our glassware for sparkling wines and champagnes. And I have a few random facts to share with you after that, and we'll be totally done so we can celebrate our New Year's Eve. So take a look at the screen right now that shows you the most known types of glasses for your champagne and sparkling wine. So here, if you start on the left side right at the top, you see how flute is probably the most known one. Flutes are great, they're beautifully looking. I think they are associated with champagnes and sparkling wines probably the most, so those are really good. Then you have a tulip and white tulip glass. Tulips, in professional opinion, are the best for drinking champagne because of the ratio of surface to air in that glass. It really allows you to capture all of the aromas of the wine, of the sparkling wine, and not let those bubbles out, like the coupe glass, which is also very known in the world, as you can probably guess. However, I have to say I personally am against a coupe glass just because I feel like there's a huge open air area at that glass. As you can see, the whole top is open, so all of the bubbles can escape super easily. And on top of that, of course, as you're sipping on that wine through a coupe glass, you can really capture a lot of aromas because the glass doesn't narrow in towards your nose, so it doesn't let those aromas to come through. My personal choice is either a tulip glass if you have one around, those are perfect, or just flute. Flute is totally fine, beautiful, and good to go. As promised, guys, some bonus material, some random facts about champagnes and sparkling wine. So I want to quickly go over how you open a bottle of champagne or sparkling wine. So I'm not going to open this one, but I'll show you and walk you through it. So foil gets removed first. This foil, feel free to peel it open, just up to here, not to remove the actual name and label of the wine. Right under the foil, we will find our cage. So the metal cage is what's holding the cork in place before it's intended to be open. So make sure to be very careful. Don't shake your bottles. And if you feel like the bottle has been shaken before you put it on a table, just let it sit. Just let it settle down. You don't want to waste your precious champagne, right? You don't need the, Formula One little shaking moment and spraying everyone with it. None of that. So let your champagne sit and settle in. Now, once you remove the cage and now your cork is exposed, it takes some effort to get it out. So the proper way of getting the cork out is not just pushing it out for the show. You can do that, of course, but the proper way to do that is to hold your bottle at the very base and then securely cover your cork from the top and slowly rotate the bottle. So not your hand, but the bottle. So you're rotating the bottle while holding that cork in place and still getting control out of it. So as the cork starts to slowly wiggle itself out, you will have control over that cork with your hand and it's not going to fly up the ceiling or hurt someone in the face, hopefully. And now the last random fact that I have here Especially nowadays, I hear more and more about people practicing champagne sabering. So sabering champagne is again a great showstopper. I mean, everyone will of course be super entertained, but you have to be careful with that as well. So using a saber, of course, it's a sharp tool, so be very careful with it. But what most people don't know, unfortunately, is that you can only saber a champagne. You cannot saber Prosecco, you cannot saber any other sparkling wine because of the way the pressure is in the bottle. Remember that pressure we looked at, and the bubbles, and the amount of the pressure in that bottle. I'm repeating myself. It will shatter in your hand if you try to saber your Prosecco or your Cava, so please be very careful. Now, when it comes to champagnes, I might be brave one day and shoot a separate sabering champagne video, but just know that you literally just go up the ledge here towards the lip of the bottle and you take it off. And technically, you don't even need a saber for that. You can use the opposite, the dull side of the big knife that you have in the kitchen somewhere. So, but do not saber anything but actual champagne. People, please be careful. Be careful, it's very dangerous. And this is it, everyone. It was a lot of fun filming this video and giving you some facts about sparkling wines and champagnes. Happy New Year, everyone. I am so happy that we have another year to look forward to and set some goals for ourselves. Let's hope it's a good one. If you have a preferred sparkling wine that you enjoy the most, please make sure to leave me a comment down below and let me know which one that is. If you like this video, click on the like button. Don't be a stinge. Share some love with me, and if you still haven't subscribed to my channel, please make sure to subscribe. This subscribe button is right down below as well. Super easy to click on, and it's completely free for you to do. So that would make my day if you do that. Again, Happy New Year, everyone, and until next time, cheers.